Cheltenham on Sunday, we see the return of Sprinter Sacre, but we also see the Racing Post Hurdle, formerly the Great Wood, a grade 3 over the extended 2 miles, and a good lineup we're expecting for this, including Darlan, who was an incredibly impressive winner at Aintree, smooth mover, and ran very well at the Cheltenham Festival, backed it up with that impressive win at Aintree. Had Prospect Wells behind that day. Prospect Wells ran second in a good race in the end with Zarkandra. It was a bit of a farce early on, but Prospect Wells, who was getting a lot of weight off Zarkandra, just got touched off in the elite hurdle. In saying that, barring a mistake at the last, the result may have been different, but Prospect Wells is certainly in with a chance in the Racing Post Hurdle. But I guess, really, the star name on the lineup is Darlan, who's got champion hurdle aspirations this season. Darlan is the 9-4 favourite. It's a gimme 6-1. Cash and Go 7-1. Dark Lover and Domination 10s. Prospect Wells 12-1. 14-1 Caslian. 16's about Cause of Causes, Moondice, Alofi, Snap Tie and Vendor. It's 20-1 and bigger the rest. Darlan the 9-4 favourite.
So the old Great Wood, now the Racing Post handicap hurdle. Long and rich tradition throwing up potentially future champion hurdle winners. Darlan then, let's deal with him first of all. Does he deserve to be the sort of price that he is? To ask you an easy one.
Good question. I think I'm probably on reputation and, to be fair, on racecourse performances. I don't know whether you can argue half a point here or there, what's a fair price, what isn't a fair price, but the case is he's been back from 5s to 9-4 on the strength of probably some nice homework and the fact that, you know, JP owns him and he looks a sexy horse this year, and you can understand that because some of his performances last year were pretty sexy as well, you know.
Yeah. Shall we have a look at the one of them?
Let's have a look.
There it is. Form that links in, of course, the Prospect Wells from Aintree. We'll deal with Prospect Wells in a moment, but this is Darlan's success over him. He's got form at the track, that Cheltenham, that is. He does have to shoulder 11 stone 12, however. Now, there have been good weight-carrying performances in this race, but there are plenty of potential improvers a little bit further down the race.
Yeah, there are. I tend not to get too preoccupied with weights and measures. I just think he looks a pretty classy horse. I mean, everyone remembers how he was travelling in the Betfair Hurdle when he crashed out, and I actually think he did extremely well. And you know, for a young horse to come back from that fall at Newbury and manage to achieve what he managed to achieve and keep going all the way till the 13th of April and win a decent novice hurdle at Liverpool.
It was a shocker, that fall, wasn't it?
Yeah, blood went cold, didn't it, seeing that? It was horrid. And yet he's managed to bounce back in good style, you know, second in a Supreme, behind Cinders and Ashes, and a good performance there, very fluent the way he travelled and jumped there was superb. I think he's got a touch of class, this horse, obviously.
Yes.
Obvious statement number one, but he can only improve, really, and that's why he's so to the fore of the Racing Post market.
He might just need to improve a little bit, looking at some of the others that are in the lineup come Sunday's race. For what it's worth, one that caught my eye, and he's not alone in that, he's caught several people's eyes, one of the Irish raiders that won the race on the flat at Newmarket, Domination,
and mine, I mean, the stable have done exceptionally well with their sort of dual-purpose horses, haven't they? Solwit, and probably one or two others that escape me at this precise moment in time, but they certainly, when they have a quality individual like Domination, they know how to campaign it, and he was one that was very much, you know, on the shortlist for me. I thought it was a tremendous performance at Newmarket. You know, and I went back through one or two of his hurdle runs in decent sized fields as well in Ireland, and he'd run pretty well. So I think he's a live one.
Okay. Let's talk about Prospect Wells then. As I said, we'll deal more with him. We've seen that bit of VT of him in action behind Darlan at Aintree. He's already had a spin this autumn, and now makes a quick return to the track. Yeah,
just touched off by Zarkandra, wasn't he, last week?
Terrific finish,
elite hurdle, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And it's the old Paul Nicholls system. If they need a run, go and back them. But it just shows you how impossible it is to actually. Yeah, trainers can have a good idea, but until you get in the heat of battle, it's impossible to say whether a horse is 100% or 98 or 97. Surely, you know, it's so difficult. And Zarkandra gave weight and a beating to his stablemate Prospect Wells, who other than finishing second, lost little in defeat and battled all the way to the line. Probably had quite a hard race, that's all you would say.
Well, that was going to be my next question. It is only going to be 8 days later.
Yeah, but he's another one, I think, with Cheltenham form, isn't he?
Yeah, ran at this meeting last year, didn't he, in the Grade 2 Novices Hurdle?
Of course he did. And, he's probably got these sort of handicaps in mind for him all the season long, really, hasn't he, Paul? And hopefully he graduates to something a bit better come the back end. I suppose that's the modus operandi with Prospect Wells. But I just think he got beat by a better horse last week. I just think Zarkanda, well, that's an obvious statement as well because he was conceding weight, but I don't put a lot of store in the odd pound here or there, and I just felt that Zarkanda looked a horse that has grown and strengthened, and his preparation wasn't great going into the Champion Hurdle. So I think Prospect Wells probably did really well to push him that far. I think he could be vastly improved horse again this year, Zarkanda, with another year on his back. Into 7-1 second favourite, isn't he, for the Champion Hurdle?
Yes, he is, yeah, it's early stage. I wonder if we can just drop in the Coral odds again for Sunday's Racing Post Hurdle. And whilst we do that, we can talk about some of the others, because one or two of them have been backed in the course of the last few days. We must talk about It's a Gimme, who represents John Joe Neal and JP McManus. Now, a bit like Darlan, he's only a 5-year-old and he ought to have more to offer. Yeah,
very much so. Just had sort of 9 starts, 6 over hurdles, that's all. And he's shortened up for this race quite significantly in recent days. Excellent effort behind Rhea Star, the Ascot specialist last time, and we're going to see his run at Aintree, where he looked very, very dangerous, didn't he, in the race that At a Glance won, but just didn't seem to get home. And there'd looked 1 or 2 stronger stayers in this race going into it, and even though he was sort of 7-2 favourite, he just weakened out of it and just almost stopped dead, really.
Yeah. On that evidence, well, you'd say, 2.5 miles in that sort of race.
Yeah.
Possibly at that stage of his development.
Yeah, probably.
As well. As I said, he was only a 5-year-old, and that was 7 months ago.
Yes, and he'd won at Suttles and Newbury's and places like that over 2, but that was another level of competition again, and he showed behind Rhea Star that he's progressed and is now up to that level of competition, and that Rhea Star run came in the middle of a quiet spell for John Joe's horses, which they've now managed to exercise with a across-the-card double.
15 minutes, wasn't it,
yesterday?
Absolutely. Exeter and Bangor. And what about Dark Lover? He's fancied in some quarters.
Yeah, I mean, he was very well fancied, wasn't he, for the conditional jockeys hurdle when Ryan Marn rode him, and he looked like he jumped in at the bottom of the straight. It was a very wide margin victory at the line for Dark Lover. I mean, he's absolutely pink. Changed colours as well, I think, or changed ownership since this race. Certainly wear different colours on Sunday, I think, and put it to bed with a wide swooping run and stuck on really well all the way to the line. He'd been off the track for some little time, but the markets told you that those at Ditchy fancied him.
Yes, it did. Has the pen come to rest on anything in particular? Is this a race that you've been looking at, for the last fortnight or so, or looking at horses thinking?
No, I've had a multitude of bad handicaps on the all-weather and at Hexham to look at in between then. Yeah. So it's one I've just cast a little bit of an eye on, certainly when I knew we were going to have a look at it. So, the likes of Domination, I think, are very interesting. I can understand the class angle with Darlan. I can understand why people want to back him for this race and also for the Champion Hurdle, because he's got good, solid course form from a brilliant yard, and he looks to have, that just a bit of X factor, to coin a phrase, which you would need to progress from novice company through the handicaps. He could spend very little time in handicaps.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, well, let's look ahead to the Racing Post handicap hurdle. It's the day 3 feature of the Open meeting, which of course kicks off at Cheltenham tomorrow.